Welcome back to another match of the Lorcana League. This time we'll be going up against Neil. He'll be playing Blue Steel today against my Amethyst Steel. I did lose the dice roll on Amethyst Steel, so I will be going on the play. I don't know his ink pairing yet, so I'm just going for a safe mull here. Just looking for my curve, looking for... Usually a hook is my safest bet when I don't know what they're going to be playing against, and then probably into like a Calhoun. And then we'll take any of our 3 drops. Cobra's nice for getting ahead. And then obviously we like our Genie, and then we could sing a Strength. Biggest threats that we are going to see in this matchup are going to be stuff like Thunderbolt from his side. Going to be seeing Hades for some hard removal, which can be difficult to play around. This deck also features Vincenzo, usually, but 3 damage doesn't really do a lot to my board, especially when we have Cheshire Cat available to move the damage. So it's not something I'm too worried about most of the time. We're going to be expecting him to go for usual Tipo or a Sail turn 2, and then probably a Cindy turn 3 ideally, if not then Akita. And then playing one of their powerful 6-cost characters like Goliath, Sonic Aerial, and Tink. Yeah, it looks like we are done with mulls. So Neil inked a Sail, passed the turn, pretty standard, no turn 1 play for him. Looks like we inked a 2-cost Jafar to play a hook. So yeah, pretty safe. I like to have the hook when I'm just not sure what I'm up against yet. But now that I know it's blue, I'll probably try to play a little more aggressively in the beginning if I can. Then Neil inks the Namari and goes for a turn 2 Sail, so they found his ramp. I like seeing the Sail instead of the Tipo here. Just lets me quest pretty freely with the hook. Looks like we got a develop going in the Inkwell. And this shows me that everything else in his hand he wants to keep, because usually you'd be playing the develop with that 1 ink from the Sail. So a little bit of an indication that he's got some big threats in hand, or maybe he's hurting on uninkables. So we inked a Lexington, played the Calhoun, which is good for stalling the board. Can challenge into Cinderella if needed. Overall, very strong card. And there's the Cinderella coming from Neil. Gonna do the Cinderella trigger at the end of turn, bringing him up to 5 ink. So at this point, I'm not super comfortable. Definitely want to get more of a board presence going, as I know he's got the filtering now from Cinderella. So we do curve out, inked a Mim, and then played a Lexington, and then it felt pretty safe to quest here. Cinderella can't take out the Calhoun cleanly and would have to trade, and then if Cinderella does take out the hook, then I can just trade with Calhoun and get the 2 lore. So I'm pretty confident he won't be challenging in there. He's taking a moment to decide what his next move's going to be. Probably has a couple of options. So it looks like we got the Namari coming out. So it's going to be even more filtering. They're going to be able to draw and discard. Well, it goes in the discard. Tipo in the discard. And then Namari is also a princess, so it's going to trigger Cinderella's effect. Ink the strength for turn. All right, so it looks like we got the Iago out, which is great for board presence and control. Will die pretty easily to any of his songs, but I felt pretty comfortable playing this after I saw him ink the so after I saw him ink the strength, and then it looked like he used the Namari trigger and discarded Beyond the Horizon. And then there's Hades. So we see that he does Hades onto Lexington, which told me he's probably going to have an action to take out the parrot. And so he just cleaned up board pretty nicely there. I might have overextended by questing with Hook. I was trying to bait Namari into attacking, but it did not work out well. So we'll see if I can recover from this. So I've got good old Genie, Trusty. And then I had Calhoun trade with the Cinderella just so he's not getting any extra ink off of it anymore. And I don't know if he's going to exert it again. So I just took the chance where I could. And right here, I'm deciding whether or not I want to ink for turn. I've got a couple good cards in hand that I'm hoping to save. So he's doing draw discard off of Namari now. We see Vincenzo discarded. It's kind of what I talked about. He's not really a big threat in this deck just because I don't have a lot of things that it takes out cleanly beyond like Dumbo and my 1 and 2 cost cards, which just doesn't feel good to play Vincenzo and take out a 1 to 2 cost. But we get another Hades, which cleans up my Genie, which feels pretty rough for me. At this point, I'm thinking if I can't make a big swing, I'm probably not going to come back from this, just from 6 lore on board from him. I'm taking my time here deciding what to ink, what possible routes I have to come back from this. And then we get 5 cost Hades, and I go ahead and target one of his Hades. He lets me draw. I have 4 in hand, so I'm up to 6 now. So that tells me that he might have a Beyond the Horizon or a Goliath, so he's not really concerned with letting me draw. Yeah, so not a very impactful turn for me there. Was hoping he wouldn't let me draw, but he went ahead and did, so we'll see what else he can throw down. Blue Steel's always playing the bombs. So looks like he inked, but I'm much faster. Interesting song added with set 10. Gives a character alert and challenger. 2. Really good for popping illusions. Yep, so we got the old Goliath and enchanted Goliath. So that's what I was fearing when he let me draw that too. It kind of told me I wasn't going to be able to keep those cards that I drew. So at this point, he's at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lore on board at 10 lore. So would need a huge swing to come back from this. Taking my time thinking about if I have any outs, but it was looking pretty bad once he cleaned up my board. So we got an Elsa going into the Inkwell, just not going to get any value out of exerting anything right now. Thunderbolting Namari. I think at this point I'm just trying to empty my hand as much as possible. Try to get some value. So we got the Iago, and then also was able to bounce back Hades with the Mim. And so I ended with 3 cards, so I'm going to have to discard 1, and we ended up discarding a Strength, which feels bad, but also realizing I won't be able to build up too much of a board, most likely, before the game is out, so it won't get too much value out of it, I don't think. And at this point, I'm just scared of maybe him popping Iago with any kind of action. But, I mean, even if he just quested out, it would not be a bad play, I don't think. He's going to do a little bit of dig with Mulan. See if he can't find another answer somewhere. And then we've got the Sonic Warrior out now. I think at this point, I'm thinking this is probably game. Yeah, we got Thunderbolt onto Iago. So now he's got game on board, and I've only got 1 character, 2 cards in hand, so not looking too good. I don't think there's anything really that I could draw that would get me out of this situation. Yeah, just going through everything in my head, thinking about what plays I have. Do the Hades on Ariel. He lets me draw, but yeah, no answers, so we're going to go ahead and scoop it up and go to game 2. So we're on to game 2, starting our mulligans. So at this point, I am feeling like I need to not overextend too much. Maybe value playing Diablo or Olaf as my 1-drops instead of the hook. Don't really want to focus on challenging too much. I feel like I need to just maybe get under all of this removal and just try and quest out as quickly as possible. It will be on the play this time, which helps a lot. I'll have the chance to possibly use Strength of a Raging Fire on his Cindy, if he does play that. And it'll just help me curve out and get a little bit more value more quickly. Yes, biggest threat for me is probably the Hades again. It's just such a good swing card, and then also the Heraldus Thunderbolt is just very good for taking out stuff like Genie, Takes out Iago, Lexington, Cat, Cobra, all of the stuff that I really like to be playing. Even 5-cost Hades gets taken down by it. Just having a little bit of chit chat before the game begins, talking about the holiday season. It looks like we're about to get started. So we got the Olaf and the Inkwell, straight into the Diablo. So we like playing the Diablo because if he does end up going for a sale as his ink, then I'll just get some free quests in. And a lot of times people don't like to challenge Diablo, don't want to give you the free card. So we got turn 1 from Neil, ink, no play, which works out great for me. We inked an Elsa, going for Jafar, and then starting to get the quests in with Diablo now. I think Neil is just deciding what his next couple turns are going to look like. It's going to depend on what he's inking. So we got a Vincenzo in the Inkwell, which just doesn't get a lot of value, I think, based on what he's seen. The Tipo does pose a little bit of a challenge for me, as I don't necessarily want him to be taking out my Diablo, as it affects my curve with strength, but I might just decide to go ahead and quest with it anyway, just because I really am trying to value going quickly here. So we got our nice 1-2-3 curve, went into the Cobra, discarding Thunderbolt, which isn't super great, but the Uninkable can clog the hand, and I think I'd rather get the lore and just try and get the party started as quickly as possible. All right, so we get the Kita, which does hamper my plans a little bit. Kita's ward ability makes it so I can't target her with Strength of a Raging Fire, which I would like to do if it was a Cindy, but I can still challenge it pretty cleanly when he does activate the ability. And then, yeah, he goes ahead and challenges out Diablo with the Tipo, which I didn't really want, but at this point, it doesn't matter too much to me because of the ward. So we get our Genie, so perfect 1-2-3-4, which is what you want to see. And then I go ahead and quest for 2 with Cobra and Jafar. Again, just trying to race as quickly as possible here. I really want to get under what he's able to do. Just put pressure on with the lore. So we get Big Namari out. Thankfully, no cards in the discard yet. This will be the first one going in. So she is only hitting for 1, but can turn into a large threat very quickly. So opponent does activate Kita's ability, which is good for me. I'm most likely going to be challenging and taking it out next turn. We got a card count check. So I told him I've got 3 in hand. To me, that kind of signifies maybe we're going to be looking at a Beyond the Horizon next turn, or maybe a Goliath again. When the opponent gets curious about your card count, it makes me wonder what they want to do. Little stuff like that you have to kind of key into when you're playing. So I've got a pretty strong board presence right now. Right now I'm asking how many cards he's got in the discard just to see how strong Namari is. So possibly got an Elsa coming down to exert Namari, do some damage. Yep, so there's the Elsa. Namari gets exerted. And I'm thinking about how to most cleanly take these trades. I think I made a slight misplay there. I could have done Jafar and Elsa into the Namari and then Cobra into Kita, which would have let me keep all characters on board. But this way, he can't just clean up the Cobra with Tipo either. But I think looking back, that might have been a slight misplay. We've got Big Hades. Opponent's thinking about what to put in my inkwell right now. Yeah, Genie is definitely the right call, I think. Stop me from questing aggressively. Right now, I'm thinking about my options. This is a big turning point in the game, usually, especially versus Sapphire, when they start to hit that 7 to 8 ink threshold. It really, if they can start to control the board, they can really run away with it. So I think my thoughts are just playing it safe, trying not to overextend like I did last game so I can maintain my pressure, maintain the lead. Taking a long think on this one. All right, so we've got a Cheshire Cat coming down with its boost ability, able to move damage, which just makes things a little bit more complicated for the opponent. And then so it looks like we did a little double songing. We did strength onto strength and thunderbolt onto Zeus to take it out. I did make a little bit of a misplay again here. I think I should have used Cheshire Cat's boost ability with my remaining ink since I had 3 left and just healed up probably my Cobra. Could have moved the damage onto the Tipo. Just a little small decisions like that that might pay off over time later. Sometimes that 1 damage is a big difference. Like if he plays a Vincenzo, he could take out my Cobra now versus if I hadn't healed it. So we got a Cindy coming down. So the fact that he's not playing like a big bomb like his Ariel, Goliath, Hades, Vincenzo shows me that he doesn't have what he needs in hand, which is kind of an indicator that I can go a little bit more aggressively right now. It's just the Cindy into the pass. So he is digging for answers, which makes me feel slightly more comfortable with where I'm at. So we've got cat number 2 coming down. Then I do boost, maybe realizing my mistake that I should have been boosting a little bit sooner since the damage is there. Might as well. Then I did quest for 2 and pass here. I think I made another mistake. I should have probably quested with my dry Cheshire Cat. He doesn't have lethal for it on board. So could make a big difference if I just do end up losing by a couple of lore. So we got a big exert, and we've got Ariel, Sonic Warrior. He does have the ink to use her ability. So we've got a Thunderbolt on Elsa. and then he does 3 damage on Cobra and finishes with Tipo. So that right there, if I had healed the Cobra originally, then he wouldn't have been able to do that. Or no, it's still he's the Cobra still would have died, I think. The Elsa wouldn't have died from the Thunderbolt though, so that could have changed things. He declines his Cindy trigger. We got a Snap Genie, makes sense. Good pressure. He doesn't have a lot of answers to evasives beyond hard removal. I do have 2 to boost a cat if I'd like. I think I'm contemplating whether or not I want to take down the Cinderella, but I do go ahead and pass. Play it a little bit safer here. Definitely a possibility that I could have attacked with one of the cats and then boosted it to heal it and finish off Cinderella. Ariel only does 3 damage, so can't challenge the cat cleanly. We get another Namari coming down, which looks like he's got 6, 7 characters, or just cards in the discard now. So Namari's hitting pretty hard. Gotta watch for that now. But we do just get a pass. I think the cats are putting a lot of mental pressure on him. He doesn't want to open himself up to getting damage moved. So I think biggest thing for me right now is I want to be pressuring on Lore. So we do quest for 3, go up to 14. Then I'm boosting the cat, but I'm declining to move any damage. And then we get the Mim Elephant, bouncing all of those cards back. So that was a play that you can make with these bounce cards is you don't have to move the damage with the cat. You may move it, so even though there was no damage to move, I'm still able to boost the cat to get that card under it. Since I had extra ink, just let me get another extra card from the Mim, filling my hand a bit, giving me more options. And right now we've got really good pressure on the board. He needs to answer this Genie, otherwise he's going to be on a 2-turn clock. And the cat plus the elephant make for a lot of damage moving opportunities, so it does make challenging and just turning cards sideways a lot more difficult. So I think the opponent's just taking some time thinking about what they want to do. This is definitely a point in the game where you want to think about everything you do and also think about the implications that it'll have in the turns to follow. Because if you just kind of throw your cards down, do whatever you feel like is right, and not necessarily think about it, that could be the misplay that costs you the game. And I do think there's a universe where you can come back from this. It only takes a couple Hades or Thunderbolts, and then suddenly I'm just sitting at 1 card on the board, and he can start questing with all of these heavy 2 questers and really put me under a lot of pressure instead of him. So we got Vincenzo out. He does only have 8 ink, so even if he sings a song, he's not able to use the Ariel's trigger. So he's really thinking about what he wants to take out right now. He needs to put this 3 damage on something and then also follow up with more removal. Otherwise, I'm just going to move the damage off. So he decides to put 3 damage on Genie. I think that's the right call if he ends up removing it completely, because Genie is the biggest threat right now in terms of how quickly I'm going to be able to win the game. Then we got Cindy singing the Epic Bolt. Finish off. Hard choice for him because I feel like he would have liked to sing that Bolt on Cat and then use Ariel's ability to finish off the genie, but he just had the one ink instead of two. Maybe wishing he had inked a little bit extra in the last turns. So at this point, I'm not sure what I've got in hand, but I think I'm looking for what my outs are, because at this point the opponent's got 7 lore, 8 if you include Cinderella. So we got Mim into Cindy to clean it up. We move 2 damage to Namari. Get Calhoun down. So I think I moved that 2 damage onto Namari so that it would be forced to trade with the elephant if it does decide to attack into it, since the elephant is now exerted. And then I do go ahead and quest with the cat. My reasoning here is if he does decide to challenge with the Namari, again, it will trade because Namari's got the 5 willpower, cat's got 3 strength. So with 2 damage on, cat will trade, or the elephant will trade. And then Vincenzo only does 2 damage with 2 strength, and the Ariel only does 3. So neither of them alone will be able to take out these characters, so he'll have to commit trading the Namari and then exerting his 2 characters just to clean these 2 cards up, which opens me up to doing some damage moving with maybe the cat and then the Calhoun. So just kind of putting some pressure on with the quests and making the opponent really think about what he's going to have to do. I think putting this mental pressure on the opponent is very strong because it opens them up to making mistakes. They might not choose the most optimal route here, and it does really depend on what I've got in hand too. So he's really taking his time trying to decide what he wants to do. I think this is one of the downsides of Vincenzo is he's got a great enter the board effect. He's very tanky and quests well, but when you're under pressure, he does not have that the damage needed once he's on board and his enter the board effect has been resolved. Yeah, so opponent's just thinking about how much lore I've got available. So Namari does trade with the elephant, which is what I expected. Um, Elephant, I think, is a slightly bigger threat than the cat on its own. I also have another cat available for boosting anyway. So even if he does take down the cat, I can still be moving damage. And then he goes ahead and leaves my other cat be. Doesn't want to expose his other characters to the Calhoun or some damage moving shenanigans, which is also what I expected. I felt safe questing the cat. And then here we're just going wide, no cards in hand with the dock, so we get great value off of it. And at this point, I do have game on board, but I will go ahead and quest out for 3, just in case anything gets removed. But at this point, he's going to have to remove all of my characters that are exerted, plus the 2 that are readied. So unless he's got a couple of songs to play, couple like a thunderbolts, a couple of thunderbolts, and then Ariel's ability. I think we will have it. Right now, he's just thinking if there's any outs, any options. I think my strategy of go fast really worked out for me here. I just tried to put on as much lore pressure as possible so that I could end up in this scenario where I'm just wide board and he doesn't have enough answers to deal with what I've got on board. He does have a Thunderbolt in hand. So he's just playing out right now, seeing if maybe he's missed an option. Yeah, so opponent just decides that time to scoop. There was just a couple too many characters on board. That dock play at the end really helped. We love our docks. So yeah, we're gonna shuffle up and go next. Moving on to game 3. I will be on the play again this time, since I did lose the first dice roll. So I'm just a little bit nervous about being on the play, especially versus blue. I definitely want that early aggression as quickly as possible. But I'm going to try and just stick with the same game plan I had game 2, which was just go fast, try to go wide, and not overextend. Um, those are like kind of the three things that are really going through my mind. When you always want to try and hit your curve, one of the best things that Purple Steel does is just playing that 1, 2, 3, 4 curve. So really just want to hit that and try not to make any mistakes and see where it takes us. Hope the opponent doesn't hit too many of their Hades. Also got to watch for how full my hand gets. We don't want to get hit with Goliath and then have to make some sad cuts. So yeah, looks like the opponent went ahead and inked Vincenzo and went for a turn 1 develop, which I like. Not establishing a body turn 1 always helps me. Again, we've seen Vincenzo going in the inkwell because just not adding that much value in this matchup. So I think that's what makes him very comfortable with inking the Vincenzos all these games. We've got Surfer Mim going in, and then the new 10 cost Olaf coming out. This Olaf has really nice synergies with both Doc and the Cheshire Cats. You could do plays similar to what we did in game 2, where you boost up the Cheshire Cats with 2 or 3 cards, and then banish the Olaf in a challenge, and bounce back the cat, which is drawing you cards. Feels nice. Then also works well with Doc. You can replay your Docs with that. Then we got the opponent playing a sail, so still no bodies established, which I like to see. But then we do get the Mulan, so this might deter me from questing with Olaf. I do want to try and get some value out of his ability if possible, so I don't like to just send it like it is like I do with the Diablo. But we'll see how I'm feeling. Depending on my 2-drop, maybe I pull a Calhoun and kind of deter the Mulan from challenging in. You do like to keep those 1, 2, and 3 cost cards on the board in Purple Steel. Usually don't want to lose them because you do want to be able to sing a 4 cost strength turn 4, or sorry, a 4 damage strength turn 4. But it all just kind of goes game by game. So we got the Calhoun, and makes me feel pretty comfortable with questing with the Olaf. I'm thinking he most likely won't challenge in to my Olaf when I've got the Calhoun there. Opponent taking their time, thinking about what they want their turn 3 play to be. We've got a Tinkerbell going into the Inkwell, which pretty interesting. Might be just like a one-off or something, because we didn't see any Tinkerbells played in the last 2 games. And we do get the Kita again, which does make it so I can't just sing a strength on the Kita. But I do have Calhoun available to trade into the Kita, which I will take any day. Get the 2 lore, stop them from ramping. We get Cobra on turn 3. Go ahead and discard a dock. I'll often discard an extra Calhoun, a dock, or a Thunderbolt just to get the Uninkable out of my hand. Usually it's just clogging. So that always feels good to do with the Cobra. So we're sitting at 5 lore. Felt comfortable enough to quest with both of my characters. I figure if he challenges the Olaf, I'll bounce my Cobra back to hand, maybe for a couple more lore from it. And then if he goes ahead and decides to challenge Calhoun with Kita, he won't be able to activate Kita's ability, which is also fine by me. So I felt pretty comfortable with the quests here. This opening myself up like this maybe lets the opponent know I don't have a strength in hand, though. I'm not really too concerned about losing the cards. But again, a strength isn't a huge threat here because of the Kita having ward. It's not really going to matter too much. We do see Kita's effect getting activated. The opponent's deciding what to ink and what to put back on top. We've got a card in the Inkwell. And then we've got Mulan singing, but I'm much faster. I'd never seen this card before. Very interesting set 10 card. Chosen character gains alert and challenger 2. It is a 1-cost song, which enables Mulan to sing it. So a pretty nice way to take out the illusions. Definitely makes my Cobras and Iagos a bit less of a threat with such a low-cost song that chooses a character. Opponent does have to pass there with all that ink readied, but I think getting rid of the Cobra there so cleanly was really not bad for them at all. So I think at this point, it'd probably be best for me to take out the Mulan, even though I would be letting them ramp again with Kita, just to keep the Calhoun on board. But I could also just challenge the Kita and stop them from ramping. So we do the Calhoun into the Kita, gain 2 lore. We quest 1 with Olaf. And we pass. And we did play the Genie for turn, which is our ideal turn 4 play. And I think looking back, I would have probably liked to keep the Calhoun on board and just challenge the Mulan instead. But we live and we learn. So we get our entire board cleared, which does not bode well for us. Definitely didn't stick with the staying safe part of my game plan. Trying to go a little too fast, a little too quickly. So we get the new Ursula Whisper. With the extra ink that I got from the Hades, I am able to boost it immediately. So it's now a 4/5 evasive that quests for 3. So could hopefully help me put a little more pressure on the board. But we do see the second Hades come down, which does really hurt. I was expecting the Hades turn 4 because he was at 7 ink, but I was willing to sacrifice the genie for this Ursula. Um, I do get a lot of extra ink from this since I did boost her before she went down, but it does certainly hamper my ability to go wide. Thankfully, we do pick up another genie, get a draw off of him. I think I'm deciding whether or not I want to ink for turn, but we go ahead and pass. So yeah, we got Genie on board, and then also Lexington. So bit of strength to challenge with. We could cleanly take out one of the whatchamacallits, Hades there. We do have the 6 strength available. Opponent's going to sing a Beyond the Horizon with 1 Hades. He's deciding whether or not he wants to target me with the Beyond the Horizon. I would be gaining 1 card, so he decides to not let me. And then they go ahead and play Develop. Opponent still has, I think, 6 ink available. And we do see a Headless Horseman in the Inkwell, another card that hasn't been played yet in the last 2 games, but can be pretty strong versus the evasive threats like Genie. If we get lucky with how many action cards get discarded. Opponent just taking some time thinking about what the next move is going to be. Got some ink being exerted. So we are digging just a little bit more. We got a sail after that. Develop your brain. And then we got a Mulan in the Inkwell for a Goliath down. I do only have 2 cards in hand, which is not bad for the Goliath play. I can hopefully get something in the Inkwell, get something down, maybe both things down, and draw 2 off of that. So I'm not incredibly concerned, but I do not like that he's got 6 lore able to quest with right now. That definitely does not feel good. So we want to see if we can maybe take care of one of these Hades without having to commit my genie. Hopefully. We'll see what kind of answers we drew into. So we get a cat down, which will be really nice. We can challenge one of the Hades with Lexington and then move the damage with cat. Cleanly take out one of the Hades. Yep, so that's what's going to happen. We challenge one of the Hades with Lexington. We boost cat. And then we try to empty the hand a little bit more. And then I end the turn with 1 card in hand, so we go ahead and draw 1 from the Goliath. So I think that was a pretty good turn for me. The cat did a lot of work. The hook puts good pressure on the Hades. Even if he does take out my Lexington, I can still use the cat and the Hades together, or sorry, the cat and the hook together to take down the big Hades. And then also possibly heal the cat and move that damage onto Goliath just to dissuade him from trading back. And I think at this point I'm feeling pretty confident. Opponent does get to answer right now, but I think where my board presence is at, I feel pretty comfortable. And then we do get a Cindy down, which to me is not terribly scary. I definitely think if he had a big bomb, he would have played it. We do get a hard cast Zeus, and I assume that goes on Genie. Yep, I would do the same thing. So that does make me a little less comfortable. I do like having the Genie on board, but of course this deck is full of removal answers for the Genie. And then we get the Goliath and Cindy together, which does give him quite a bit more filtering and draw. But overall, I still feel okay with where I'm at. I will be able to use the Lexington and the cat again. I think he's deciding actually whether or not he wants to quest with the Hades to open it to a trade. Yeah, he goes ahead and does not quest with the Hades, which I think is okay. I would definitely take it out the next turn with Cat and probably Hook because Lexington would just die from the trade. And he passes the turn. So we'll see if we can find any more answers, maybe get a little bit more pressure. We do have a lot of ink to work with, again, because of him using Hades on that boosted Ursula. So that does feel really nice. I will be able to play out my hand, most likely. And we get a Jafar into the Inkwell. Deciding what to play right now. Counting up the ink. So we got a dock down, but we decline the trigger. And then for 6, we got Demona. And I like this Demona here because it's going to exert the Goliath and lock it down from readying because of the 3 cards in hand, which does help me a lot. It also opens up the Hook, or not, sorry, the Hades for challenging. He did want to keep it safe. He kept it ready last turn. So at this point, I think I'm just deciding what I want to use to challenge. I won't be able to challenge the Hades with Lexington because Lexington would get traded. So I think we do Cat and Hook into Hades. Yep. So that's enough to take it down. And then Hook, yeah, Hook's gone. And then Lexington goes ahead and cleans up the Cinderella, which I think works great for me here because Goliath is not going to be able to ready. And I think we do let the opponent know that Goliath is Stone by Day right now because of the Demona, and that just helps me feel a little bit safer with having those 2 exerted characters. Won't be able to just challenge in. So yeah, there's the Goliath exerted. So at this point, I'm feeling very comfortable. Opponent's got 2 cards in hand, obviously, or sorry, 3 from the Demona. So definitely some answers available, but I think realistically he'd only be able to play 1 answer, maybe a Hades onto my Demona or a Vincenzo targeting Cat. Not able to sing anything because of the Goliath being exerted. So overall, I'm feeling pretty safe here. Looking to hopefully quest a bit next turn, depending on what's played. We did get some filtering from the Cindy and the Goliath, though, so I am expecting some threats to come down. So Goliath going in the Inkwell for him. Opponent thinking about what their next move is going to be. This is, I think, a point in the match where it's going to be very pivotal. So then we get the Vincenzo down, which can be used to clean up Cat or Lexington. Vincenzo does clean up the Cat, which I think I agree with. Don't want to let me move any more damage. And then the opponent's going to exert 4 for a hard cast Bolt. This is a hard choice because he doesn't necessarily want to waste the 4 damage on the Lexington, and it feels kind of bad to just use it on the dock. I got that Epic Bolt. Yeah, so it does end up using it on the dock, which I'm okay with. Would be nice to be able to bounce the dock maybe, but I think ultimately opponent was just trying to empty the hand and remove some of my options, which definitely worked for them. And then I have 3 cards in hand, so my Lexington is affected by Stone by Day as well. Which does limit my options, unfortunately. With 9 ink to work with, though, I definitely have things I can do. Hopefully, maybe another cat. Move some of that damage off the Lexington. Some other nice cards would be just another Genie or an Iago for some evasive threat. I haven't seen a Dumbo at all this game, which definitely would have been helpful for a little bit more card advantage and just getting... Oh, there we go. So we got the cat, and we got the Elsa. We went ahead and exerted the Vincenzo. Demona goes into Vincenzo. Does 5. So they're both going to take 2. And then we boost 2 damage off of the Demona onto the Goliath. I do think we forgot to put that 2 damage on the Goliath, though. We'll see if that comes into play later on. So we got the double Namari, which is pretty brutal because they've got a lot of cards in the discard, so she's going to be hitting like a truck. Goliath is available to sing something. So it looks like Goliath singing a strength. And then Elsa goes down from that. And then ends, draws 2 off of Goliath. Yeah, so if we had remembered to put that 2 damage from Demona onto the Goliath, it would definitely be threatened by the Lexington right now. At this point, I could just boost the cat, remove the damage, and then take it out anyway. Yeah, I'm wary of exerting my Demona here just because of the Namaris. I think will trade cleanly into it, but it could be worth just to get the extra lore. Going pretty wide right now. We went to a Genie and then a Calhoun. Okay, so I did move 2 damage with the cat and then finish the Goliath. I think at the end this didn't really matter too much. We are missing 2 damage that could have been on one of the Namari, but I don't think this ultimately changes the outcome of the game. Does make one of the Namari threatened by Calhoun slightly. Yeah, we went ahead and quested with Demona just to get a little more lore threat on board. Namari's going to have to trade if she wants to take out the Demona. And he does double Namari trigger, discarding a Kita, and then it's going to discard something else. We've got a, well, pump fake. Oh yeah, opponent's wondering what to discard. Excuse me. And we got another Horseman going in the discard. Opponent asking for a card count. I've got 2 in hand right now. See a big exert coming maybe. Right now, biggest fear once again, Hades. Really don't want something to just get popped off my board. Also, Thunderbolt. Not sure how many he's used so far, but would definitely hurt to lose my Genie again. At this point, I'm feeling very comfortable. Next turn, if I quest out, I'm threatening game, especially if they can't deal with the Genie. So this is a moment where the opponent really has to find some answers. So we do get the Sonic Warrior out. Do have some ability to hit something, probably Calhoun with that 3 damage. So yeah, there's the Thunderbolt, most likely hitting the Genie. Yep. So we get Genie bolted. Unfortunately, I was kind of afraid of that, but it is the cleanest answer. And then the 3 damage moves to Calhoun. And then we get traded with. So we went from a very, very comfortable board position to a very uncomfortable board position here. Really need to hope we find some of our card draw. A Dock would be really strong with all of this ink. Maybe a Hades to target the aerial. Oh, it looks like yeah, the opponent actually wanted to roll that back and decided to target the cat instead of the Genie. Which, you know, we're playing a friendly league. I will 100% take that. We didn't do anything too crazy beforehand. He'd asked like right when the turn was ending, so I was totally fine with that. Honestly, I'd rather keep the Genie. Even if he's got another bolt in hand, I'd rather get the 2 lore because I just wasn't comfortable questing with the cat there. And when we do bolt Namari, hard casted, and then we get a Demona. So we're drawing 3. Opponent draws, I think, 2. Genie does Sing a Strength to finish the Namari, which is a nice pickup from the Demona. And I do pass. So feeling okay again. Got a little bit of stuff back. At this point, fearing Hades, fearing a Strength, or but I'm much faster to pair with the Sonic Warrior. Any one of those cards would help them take out my Genie. We do get a sale from the opponent, so digging, looking for some answers, which makes me feel pretty comfortable, like they just don't have the answer right there in hand. Opponent asking for a card count again. I've got 1 card in hand. So I'm thinking maybe there's going to be another Goliath down, or maybe a Beyond the Horizon. We do get the Hades. It always comes at the worst time. Assuming it's going to be Hades onto Genie, but Demona is also a fair target. Yeah, Genie goes into the Inkwell. Puts us at 12 ink. Probably the most ink I've ever had while playing this deck. And then Tipo into the Inkwell and the Cinderella. We're just going to let the opponent filter a little bit better. Maybe get rid of some lower cost cards to try and pick up a bomb. What do we have coming down for 4? We do have an Iago coming down. Bit more board presence. We do Bolt the Cindy, hard casted. And then we quest out. Neither of these characters, the Sonic Warrior nor the Hades, have enough to take out the Demona by themselves. Would have to have some sort of song to go with. So I'm feeling pretty comfortable questing the Demona here. But we do get Vincenzo, which is another answer. We get 3 damage onto the Demona, yep. And then Hades goes ahead and finishes the job. Makes sense. So at this point, I'm feeling pretty vulnerable. We've got a second Sonic Warrior coming down on the opponent's side, which is an absolute ton of lore. That puts me on a 2-turn clock. We do draw a card off the Diablo, but only 1 card in hand right now off of the Diablo, and then just the Parrot. So really hoping for something like a Dumbo here would be really nice. Otherwise, a Hades or a Doc would be really cool. But super unfortunate. We pulled a Diablo and a Hook from the Diablo draw and our draw for turn. So 2 very low impact cards at this point in the game. Very difficult to work with there. I think at this point I'm deciding whether or not it's worth it to take out Hades or not, just to bring my clock back a little bit. But even with that, that's still 7 lore on the opponent's turn, so it puts me on a 3-turn clock, where I need to find an answer somewhere. Yeah, the double 1-drop might have been the nail in the coffin there. Really don't want to see that this late in the game. So the opponent plays a 1 jump ahead. They do get a double aerial trigger here. So we got 3 on Diablo. And then 2 on Hook. And then here I've forgotten that the opponent had played a second Sonic Warrior. So yeah, we lose the Hook and we've only got Diablo on board. So even though we're at the 15 lore mark and the opponent's only at 4, they do quest out to 11 now. And it's looking pretty dire. Top deck a Calhoun, which is also not a fantastic top deck. I go ahead and throw the Diablo into one of the characters to get a draw, but don't find something I want to play down quite yet. Most likely a Cobra in hand would be nice for some quick lore gain. But yeah, opponent just quests out, plays out a Tipo, and we go ahead and scoop here. So yeah, the double 1-drop off of at that critical stage in the game really hurt me. I didn't find any answers that I wanted then. Something that would have been really nice is maybe the Ursula a Hades for some draw, a Dumbo to use my Iago's evasive. Those probably would have been the best things, or a Genie as well, just for more pressure. But yeah, great game for my opponent Neil. It was really fun, and hopefully we'll play again soon, and I can get my revenge. Yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.